Hello, and welcome to today's Up to Thrive Manage Your Mind Mindful Moment.
Welcome to Opt to Thrive, your go-to podcast for women's wellness in midlife, designed to educate, support, and inspire you to live your very best life. And now your host, Dr. Karina Sims.
So most of you would know that besides my work as a GP and a menopause doctor, I also do some nutrition and mindset coaching, both for the Fit Physician in Canada and for my own program here in Australia, the Midlife Health and Body Reset. Today I was doing some coaching with a client who had identified that she was not great at prioritizing her sleep. She was starting to realize that this was working against her reaching her body recomposition goals, so gaining more muscle and losing some body fat. We got to talking about what is getting in the way, what was happening for her. So what we came up with was that she was bringing her work home with her and finishing it after dinner. That then cut into the time that she might then get to bed. We threw around some strategies she could adopt to stop bringing her work home. Like many of us, she was taking on more than she was required to do in the day at work. She didn't need to do it. She was just in the habit of accepting more work than she really needed to do. One of the strategies we talked about was carving out protected time in her diary during the day to allow her to finish the work that she was taking home at night, which meant then she was going to also have to cut back on some of the unnecessary work that she was accepting right now. As part of that discussion, I told her that one of the absolute best things I ever did was carve out these little catch-up spots in my day. I really dislike running late and making my patients wait. But I also love engaging and connecting with my patients and not rushing them out the door. And it really is a balancing act trying to take care of some problems in a 15-minute consultation. It's taken me years to get better at it, and some days I don't do it very well. And not to mention, there are just some things that take longer than 15 minutes. I have spent years rushing between patients, back to the waiting room, hurry up, get the next one, feeling so anxious about making people wait. I really hated that. It really stressed me out. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, trying to work out how to get better at not keeping people waiting. And one of the best things I ever did was create these little catch-ups in my diary. Now, of course, I am generally booked out for a couple of months ahead of time. So every time I would think about making this change, I'd get overwhelmed with the planning ahead because it seemed like it was forever into the future. But eventually, I got around to getting admin to start adding in these little spots for me. And I can remember when I got to the day in my calendar when I actually had a little break. What a relief. Now, often the break isn't really a break, but the extra 5 minutes here with this patient and 5 with that patient and then going to the loo, it meant that I was back to running on time. So now I don't often get really that far behind, unless of course someone comes in for their 15-minute appointment with their crushing central chest pain that they're having right now, or they're in an acute crisis of some sort, which thankfully isn't overly common. Most people do book appropriate appointments. So now here I was actually getting a full hour for my lunch break. The time to make the 7-minute drive home, sit in my sunroom, and eat a nutritious lunch that I prepared myself has been life-altering for me. And I'm not being dramatic. It has seriously cut down on the level of stress that I feel from day to day. Going back to work after a really good time out, I am so much more refreshed and sharp and ready to finish off the day. I then made another change. I started ending my bookings on the day just a little earlier so I can have time to check results and make necessary phone calls or paperwork, that kind of thing. Having the diary finish a little early also means if I need to put a couple of double bookings at the end of the day, I can, and I often do. But those time slots are for me to use. And let's say I book someone who I know is going to require more time and energy, and let's face it, some people just do require more time and energy. Or if it's someone I absolutely love having a bit of a chat with, then I'll be kind to myself and not put anyone else after that person, or leave enough time that I'm not stressed about running behind. There was a time when I used to dread going in the mornings and looking at my diary. I was constantly preparing myself for a day that would be spent chasing my tail all day long, feeling enormous stress about time constraints, scarfing down whatever I could get in for lunch, and then spending until 7 o'clock at night finishing off my paperwork. And now I have absolutely no anxiety about going to work. I get there early enough to check my results and my emails before I start consulting in the morning. And I'm confident I'm going to get my rest and recover time at lunch, and that I'll be at home at a decent time at night. I have faith in this Karina that she's going to look after me. She isn't going to cram as much as she can into that day without any regard to how she's going to feel about it then. I know she has my back. It's the same now with all areas of my life. I walk down the corridor at work sometimes, and I can actually feel the strength in my legs and the tingly, pleasant feeling of muscles that are recovering from a good workout. And again, I'm so grateful that the Karina of 5 a.m. got out of bed and she looked after me. When I get a good sleep, when my gut's working well, when I go to bed without feeling uncomfortably full from eating too much, when I still have energy at the end of the day to do the things I still want to do instead of falling in a heap on the couch, I am again grateful to that Karina. I love the concept of looking after my future self, and I think in a way, thinking of it like this has helped make some of those harder decisions pretty easy. I recently started doing a menopause clinic in a neighboring town with different software, different ways of authenticating, different passwords, the whole lot. And I only go once a month, which means that it can be a long time between visits for my poor midlife brain to remember all those details. So you can imagine what happened the second time I went. I sat down and I thought, oh no, what are my passwords? Oh, how do I do this? I then opened my glasses case that I keep in my travel work bag that I only really use now for this clinic, now that I'm not delivering babies anymore, prepared to sit down and figure it out. And then a sticky note fell out. A sticky note to my future self to remind me of my passwords and how to check my email to get authenticated, to get onto the site, etc., etc. I smiled and was so proud of that Karina who anticipated her future self would be sitting there right then in that chair having a little meltdown that she can't remember all these details, but that she would then open her glasses case and this little sticky note would give her everything she needed. That's when I realized I am getting pretty good at this looking after your future self stuff. So friends, what can you do today to look after your future self? What does your future self need? What will she be thanking you for? Hey, before you go, if you're a midlife woman who wants to feel better in your body, whether that means improving your health, building strength and confidence, or working towards weight change in a kinder, more sustainable way, I have created something especially for you to support you. It's called the Midlife Health and Body Reset Kickstart Guide, and it's a free 7-day foundations guide to help you understand what's going on in your body in midlife and what actually makes a difference from here. You can download it using the link in the show notes. And if you're ready to take that work to the next step and you would like some personalized support to make it work, I run a 12-week midlife reset program where we work together on body recomposition, so losing body fat while regaining muscle, the absolute best thing we can be doing in midlife to combat midlife metabolic convergence. You get a custom strength training program from an exercise physiologist, weekly coaching with me, personalized nutrition guidance, and accountability to help you actually follow through. If that sounds like what you need, head on over to optothrive.com to find out more about the program and maybe even book a call with me to ask me any questions that you have, see if we're a good fit, and see if this program's for you.
I hope you've enjoyed this Manage Your Mind mindful moment. And if you have, and you can think of someone else who might enjoy it, please pass it on. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast to make it more visible to those who might get something out of it too. Have a great week, everyone. And until then, I hope you opt to thrive.
The Opt to Thrive podcast is designed for information purposes only and is not engaged in the giving of medical advice. The information provided on the podcast should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease. In no way should the information provided by Opt to Thrive be considered medical advice, and at all times the advice of a medical professional should supersede recommendations from Opt to Thrive. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The views expressed in this podcast are purely that of Dr. Sims and do not in any way reflect those of the institutions she contracts her medical services to.
Thank you for listening to Opt to Thrive. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate and share the podcast. You can visit our website at optothrive.com and leave a comment for any subjects you would like to hear more about.